Hi, good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to every one of you. Most of you are members of the community. It means a lot that you have chosen to be here. Nassar is here based on our invitation specifically to come and share this session. A brief introduction about Nassar. He's primarily, unlike most of us here, most of us are corporate executives turned entrepreneurs, except maybe a couple of you. Otherwise, Nassar has been an entrepreneur all along, right? So his profile reads first entrepreneur, then executive business coach. Of course, he's an author, published author. That's what we are going to discuss today. He is a storyteller. I would also add he's a voracious reader. Somebody, very few people I know, who reads so much. He's a corporate trainer. He does a lot of corporate training. That is one of his core areas. And he's also executive director BNI, Coimbatore. Yeah, I mean, that's something that is very close to his heart, something that is very impactful. I had the privilege of, being at an event where they celebrated 10 years of BNI in Coimbatore. Thanks to the team, I was invited for that. And, that's where they launched this book. And, I've been carrying the signed copy, going through it. Very good read. So I thought this is a story that needs to be told to us fellow coaches and other friends who are joining this call. So Nassar is a business strategic vision and result-oriented coach who helps business owners to achieve greater success. He's the director and co-founder of E2E Excite Marketing. He's also, of course, a business coach, a professional certified coach from ICF. We had the privilege of having him in one of our earlier batches, a keen learner, fantastic member of the group, somebody who learns through fun, right? I'm a very serious learner in my journey, but he's somebody who brings in that element of fun into all the learning. As an executive director, BNI Coimbatore, he has helped a team of over 1,150 business owners generate a whopping 3,900 crore of revenue since 2012 Coimbatore. For me, everything other than this, kind of dwells into background. 3,900, 1,150 business owners like us is a phenomenal success story that he carries. As a corporate trainer, he focuses on increasing 10x revenue. So those of you who are looking at increasing 10x revenue, he could be a coach. He's done some 1,600 training programs, touched lives of over 3 lakh business owners, and worked with brands, an area of my interest. Some big brands like Vodafone, Pepsi, Hyundai, Audi, Bosch, Nissan, and also global brands in the Middle East like Bank of Muscat, Jalil, Strabag, and other entities in the Middle East. He recently published this book. Again, that's what brings him here as a guest for the evening. He's just not somebody who's just become an entrepreneur and become a typical business owner, not studying. He holds some masters in foreign trade. He is an MBA, has done postgraduate in advertising, has a diploma in instructional design. Now, as a trainer, even I don't have that. Yeah. So, and he's also done a certificate program in consultancy with IMB. Now, beyond all these fantastic credentials that he carry, is a good friend, an esteemed member of our community, somebody whom I look up to as a friend here. Also, for many of us here, this is a dream, no? At least for me. At least there is one book in all of us. So I hope we trigger some questions on somebody who's so busy, somebody who travels so extensively, has to young kids and manages home front. How does he find time to publish a book? How does he find time to read and learn? So those are kind of stories that he's going to dwell upon. The way we have structured the session is he's going to spend 15-20 minutes introductory session. Then it's all open to us. We all are ready, Nassar, with some questions, and I hope also the other listeners also would come in with their own questions. Over to you, Nassar. Thank you for accepting this offer. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Hope I can share my screen. Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today on a different role. Usually I join this Regal Unlimited either to share something to do with coaching or to help them to a presentation on how a coach can market themselves and so on and so forth. But this is totally a different kind of experience, talking about my own book. People generally don't like bragging, and we always tell that you should not be talking about yourself time and time again. But when Subash ji asked me, I said, okay, I can be part of this small session. As many of you know that writing a book is somebody's dream, and I wanted to share this little secret to all of you that it's actually not my first book. My first book is still not launched yet. So that's a secret that I want to tell everybody. I'm still struggling to get this thing done. I did a series of workshop and I wanted to convert that into a book. It ran up to 140,000 words, and it's a huge book. And I've actually given to a professional editor to edit it almost 17 months back. Dr. Visagamurthy knows the story, and it's still, the editing is not done. So I was thinking about it for a few months. Then I decided, okay, why don't I come up with something smaller, 25,000 words book, and why can't we make it as a story? That's how this spark came up. Every one of us know that there is a spark in each one of us, and that spark has actually kindled us. The reason that I'm here in front of all of you is because of a spark. A few years back, I'm sure you all know about one of the major challenges happened in the beverage company, especially the soft drink companies like Pepsi and Coke and all that. In Kerala, they had a couple of plants, and one of the plants, both the plants had major challenges because of the water, and the local community was going on a big strike, and there was a lockdown, and the whole community was agitating because of the water getting popped up from the ground, and so much of challenges. At that point of time, we used to do a lot of work with Pepsi on their marketing, on their branding and brand activation activities and all of that. So one such occasion, we happened to interact with the plant manager of this Palakkad plant in Kerala, where this plant head was doing amazing job. There was strike outside, but inside the factory was running flawlessly. Everybody was working inside. And while I was talking to him, he was talking great about the institution that he studied, which is INSEAD. So that's one story of the thing. So I got to register about the INSEAD and people from that kind of institute, how they think, how do they act, and so on and so forth. And later on, few years later, I was scouting to get into a ICF certification organization who can give us the training and certification or help us to get the certification of ICA accreditation. So I was running around few places here. Went on a shopping spree, spoke to a few people. I didn't kind of like the approach, and finally I landed up speaking to Subash. And the moment he talked about INSEAD, and immediately that Palakkad plant and the whole story came into my mind, and that spark it created. And that is the reason that there's some common connection, and you have somebody regarded so much in terms of the institution. And I was told that the INSEAD, people from INSEAD or INSEAD, they all have so much of analytical mind, so much of bright thinking. And you have people, the author of the book called Blue Ocean Strategy, they are from professors of this college and all that. So that spark has actually created me to be part of this ICF community, and of course, Regal Unlimited. So that is what this book is all about. So if you look at why should I read this book, on many occasions I've shared many stories that really triggers us on every single day. You meet some very common people, you meet some very uncommon people, you meet some young people, you meet some really old people, you meet some celebrities, you meet some business person, you get a lot of spark in it. So that is what I've kind of said over a period of time, and there's a lot of reason behind the spark which really kindled me. To tell you something, when I was in college, I kind of picked up this reading habit. A friend of mine who actually gave me a very interesting book. It's actually a fiction book, a series of books of Sidney Shelton. And he said that, why don't you read it? Because I started off reading non-fiction, and usually these non-fictions are very brain heavy, like you need to concentrate a little more detail, read few pages, and then automatically you'll never finish a book. So that was the scenario for me, because my mentor used to give me a lot of book, Mr. Mahesh. late Mahesh. I used to go to his library, borrow some books here and there. I read few pages and that's it. And I was not able to really get into the habit of reading. So while I was discussing this with my classmate during my UG, he gave me a very interesting book. He said, read this book. And I started reading. It's a very interesting Sidney Sheldon fiction book. And some of you read fiction, how it is gripping and how the entire story actually makes you to continue focus on that particular book till you finish the book. So that's how I picked up the reading habit, thanks to Sriram, the guy who I think is in Australia now, is working for some company. Because of him, I got into this reading habit. So what I did is, during my school days, I became a member of an Interact club, and that club actually asked me to visit a Rotary Club meeting, and I went into the Rotary Club and I saw the kind of meeting happening, and I met few business people, and every one of them at that point of time, they came to me, they started asking me, they were encouraging me. And those days, these are all big shots, and they were coming in ambassador car. The costliest car at that point of time was Maruti Esteem. So all of that was there, and I didn't see any kind of these people are very humble. They were approachable. They came to us. They spoke to us. And that kind of inspired me. When can I become somebody like him? That spark has actually triggered me to get into all that, whatever I'm doing. So this book is actually came out because I kind of looked at stories, and all of us know that we love stories right from our childhood days. Every story has got a moral, every story has got a message. And I started observing people, like the story that I talked to you about, the Pepsi plant. Every single incident, every single activity, every single story has got some meaning. So I started observing a lot of people initially to share these stories in front of people, because when I became a Rotract DRR, which is actually Rotract governor, I happen to visit every month few clubs, and as a top man in the district, you need to share something and you need to say some story to them. And the more the story has got weightage in terms of message, it gets appreciated. People started talking about it. People started clapping. People started looking forward for it. So that's when I became a little more curious to read more about these kind of stories, real life stories, stories happen to next door kind of a person, people whom you can relate to, successful people, successful business people, successful sports people, and so on. So that, with that curious hat, I started seeing so many people from my training participants. They come to me and said, do you have anything to read? You're telling so many stories. Usually I share in the training program. I thought I'll record these things, and I created some kind of a YouTube where I keep sharing these stories. Thanks to COVID, we had a lot of time in our kitty, so that we can really look at sharing these stories in a better way. And as I told you at the beginning, my first book is a very heavy book. It's talking about reboot your business and what kind of strategy you need to do on the people front, on the marketing front, on the small business owners' challenges and all of that. So I was not able to get that edited, and it was continuously delaying for a long time. Then I thought, okay, why not? I attended a lot of these author coaching sessions, seminars, webinars, and all of that. I picked up this idea of, let's not wait for the best one to come, because most of us have this habit of trying to be perfect in whatever we're trying to do. So let's try and start something, and let's try and put an effort towards bringing out a smaller one. And that's came this particular idea of this entire book. So this book covers in two different sections. One is on personal excellence, and second one is on professional excellence. So the primary maybe the age profile of somewhere around 17, 18 to go up to 40, 45. So that's the kind of primary target who really wanted to do something in life, wanted to achieve more places. So I kind of divided into two areas. One on a personal front, how can you add value to yourself? And the second one is about how this value addition means, what it can mean to you at the professional front. So these are a set of stories. I wanted to quickly take one or two stories, and then I leave it to all of you to ask me some question on that. On the personal front, the book starts with this particular story called Adding Value. So what is the story is all about? It's about an experience that we have. The customer experience management. If you go to a 5-star hotel, what kind of experience that you get? Right from your car, getting valet, parked, and then the kind of ushering, the kind of all of that benefits that you enjoy in a 5-star hotel. Especially when you order for a pot tea, they bring you water separately, they bring you milk separately. We have to do all the work, and finally we pay a lot of money, and then we tip them with some decent amount of money. And then when we walk out, we feel so happy about it, right? Because we don't feel bad, even though the tea may not taste that much good compared to an ordinary small coffee shop or a bakery which you come across. But we always have this feeling of, yes, I mean, I had tea at the Taj, or I had tea at the Ubrai. That's what you wanted to say. So what is the message from this? Because this book also has a message section at the end of every single chapter. What is the take home that I can take through? What is the spark that is kindling me? How can I put this spark into action? So to talk about this particular story, it's an ordinary tea, but the way it is presented, the way it is created, a lot of value addition is given. And you don't feel bad about it, paying maybe 600, 700 rupees, and over and above, you tip them somebody. And when you come out, you feel like saying that I had tea at Taj or Oberoi or Marriott. So similarly, what kind of a value addition that you can think of in your own respective life, so that people can look upon you. So that's this first story is all about. Many of the incidents, these are small incidents which I come across. So during one of the event in PepsiCo for Mirinda, we had this chief guest, the late actor Vivek from Tamil Nadu, who's a comedy actor. So he started talking about a very motivational message to the frontline salespeople. For the FMCG, the frontline salespeople are very good, very essential, and their real hard work, leg work is very important for any brand to be successful. So this Vivek was sharing this interesting story, saying that the people who get up early in the morning, they'll always be successful. And he shared this interesting proverb from China. And the people in China, they believe, it seems, that if you're not starting the day in the morning in a success, it's going to be whole day is going to be failure. So they give this example of alarm clock. Usually when we set alarm, and the moment the alarm goes on, we just bang it and turn around and sleep off. So whoever does that, he or she starts the day with the failure. That's the proverb in China. So this is another interesting message which I picked up. So if you cannot win yourself, how can you win the world? So that's the message of the other story. And this is a story which is partly I've covered earlier. I'm attending my first Interact Club meeting in a Rotary Club, and how I got inspired from various people around it. That was the beginning, right? From speaking in front of mic and taking on to a business and building a team around it. All of that happened because of that at a very early age. Maybe I was in 8th standard at that point of time. So that's the message about this particular story. And many a times you come across people who from nothing, they go on to become somebody. And more so when you see these kind of people, your childhood buddies who really came up a long way, going through failure after failure, and eventually they become successful. How do you feel? So that's what I'm talking about, School of Hard Knocks. It's a very interesting story of an ordinary person from an ordinary family, went on to become one of the director level person in a media company today. Then I'm talking about how people are very curious. During my initial stint as a media salesperson in one of the companies, how I picked up some very inspiring lessons from an ordinary office boy who was not able to even utter a single word in English. And later on, he, with curiosity and passion, went on to become a government school teacher in English. So these are some of the stories which really inspires me. All that gets covered in the personal section. And many a times that we come across some real big challenge in the form of insult. Many of the situations on a day-to-day basis, you get stuck and then you bounce back. That becomes a big success. So this is my own story of putting my mic down when I had first time seen 100 people in front of me. How the stage fear has actually built me power to go on, or maybe building resilient, and then come back and become a bigger speaker for about 3,000, 5,000 audience from the same organizing committee. So these are some of the stories which I found very interesting. Again, a spark within, it's another interesting story. I'm not going to get into every single story into this. And one of the other interesting stories about one of our first employees in our company who went on to join another major MNC. And his roots of serving community, right from Rotaract and other clubs, how he really made use of that CSR fund and created some kind of a PR activity. And that went on to become a bigger hit. And the government had paid him some huge amount of money as a gift. And that money, again, he went back and donated, he gave us a donation to a juvenile home. And that again became very famous in the media. So how the moment you decided to give more, automatically it will come back to you. And today he's heading one of the top healthcare equipment company, the leader in the world, as one of the top guy, and his targets get completed in 3 months. Every year, the target, whatever the company gives him, he finishes in 3 months, all because of the kind of contacts that he's got. So these are some of the stories which you see in the personal excellence session. On the professional excellence session, we talk about, how can your passion can become a profession. During my being from Coimbatore, I love auto sports. Many people in Coimbatore, they are fond of autos and racings and things like that. So during my college days, we had this gang, and one of our gang in the motorbike gang, this guy was so passionate about automotive. And later on, I came to know, we lost touch almost in 10, 15 years. And later on, when I met him accidentally, I came to know that this is the person who supplied all those super bikes, which came in the movie. I think there's a bike, Doom 1, Doom 2. All those bikes were supplied by this guy. So I was able to recall, such a young during the college days, how he was passionate about it and what made him to make it as a profession. And he's still successful in that particular field. Hardly there's only 3 or 4 people in that kind of business in India. So that's the story about it. Then we are talking about any tough experience that you have. This is about my own sales experience. For the initial weeks of sales is always tough. And how did I bounce back? And when I went and told my mentor, sales is not going to be my cup of tea, I want to quit. He said, all that is fine. I totally agree with you. I'm not going to say anything. But before you quit, I want you to just take that one check from a customer and convert that one order. And after that, you decide whatever you want to do. It's okay for me. So I was thinking, okay, it's going to be only one order, so I will work towards it. I worked for about 4 or 5 weeks. After that, I got the first check. Then I called my mentor Mahesh and asked him, what should I do? He asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to continue. So that's how I continued. So that's how the whole thing goes on. So this is about how can you really look at those kind of stuff. And even the street Pani Puri vendor have actually taught me very interesting lessons on how can you educate your customer so the customer keep coming back to you. How can the customer have the top of the mind recall whenever they think of something similar kind of offering that's offered in the marketplace. So that's about all this. And the story goes on in the book. I just leave it to you to pick up a copy and read it through so that you can get to know more about it. Thank you so much. Over to Subash ji.
So I've shared the link for the book. I just want to highlight a point that Nassar made. It's all 2 pages each story. So I mean, you could give it one full reading or take some time to read one chapter a day. But what I also liked, what Nassar made a passing reference is the spark that triggered. So what is your key takeaway? There is a section to note that. And what is my follow-up action? This is like awareness and action of CC7 and CC8. So it should not stop with CC7. It should move to CC8. So that's an interesting part of it. Otherwise, the link is there. I mean, I have the book, I've read it, so I would invite, the questions now. Anyone who wants to go first, you can raise your hand, unmute and ask. I'll start just to warm up, Nassar. My question was, most of us here are on our second journey, right? We have done some corporate and we come with that baggage of success and also, yes, receding forehead to gray hair, right? Metaphorically. So, what we need to do differently to become a successful entrepreneur, Nassar? We all are good coaches. Most of us are here are alumni. So we all are good coaches. What would it take to become a successful entrepreneur?
Okay.
Good.
So what I was telling is the younger generation today, their thought process itself is totally different. They want to start a company, they wanted to get into valuation, they create $1 billion company, and they want to exit as early as possible. So I mean, when you really look at them, we are nowhere. So if you ask me the question, it's all about the mindset. When you work in a company, it's all about the salary that you're getting in, and you don't look at anything beyond that. Whereas when it comes to the entrepreneurial mindset, it's all about money. So you should start thinking about investing money and making money out of it. You can't compare yourself with every single penny. Sometimes you may have to lose a lot of money to get back the money. So the whole application of changing the mindset is very important to become a successful, to start with.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone wants to go? Karan?
Yeah. So, Nassar, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I think I'm just putting a video on a
sure.
Yeah.
So I read the book. It's a fascinating read, as Subash mentioned, stories, messages, then what triggered, and then the follow-up action. I have few questions, especially for the audience of this kind, who are not actually maybe entrepreneurs, maybe coachpreneurs, as I call them. So my question, I want to extend Subhash's question also. What each of us here, the audience which we have, what we have is a spark of becoming a good coach. That was a spark that got us here, right? And each of us here are actually good coaches. But the spark that is required to become a coachpreneur, it's actually very different. Do you see these two similar or different? According to me, it is different. Part two is how can we transition and maybe take that spark from being a good coach to becoming a good coachpreneur? How can we make that transition?
Okay, so there are two things. One is, the moment you hear about a word called Sony, what comes into your mind?
Sony is TV, electronics, gadgets, quality, Japan,
okay,
Japanese quality.
Music, all that is fine. But the moment you walk into a television showroom, I mean the consumer durable shop, and you automatically know that if you go near Sony, it will be definitely 20-30% higher than any other TV. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So why is that? Even if you are an electronics and communication engineer or electrical engineer, whatever, BTech in electronics, whatever, you're not going to go open the the TV at the back and say the circuit is this, circuit is good, I'm going to pay because there's a value for it. No. The moment you hear the word called Sony, you and I are ready to pay 20-30% higher because the perception about the brand is so good. Okay. So the question here is, you may be an excellent coach, but who are saying that? Who is saying that? Is it you are saying that you are an excellent coach? What the world is saying? If the world has to say that you are an excellent coach, you need to make some noise. You need to create a brand, and you can't go and do that. I mean, I have many businesses. I have an event company. I have a online platform on event company. I have a BNI. All that I can go and talk about it. But for the coaching business, consulting business, training business, the piteous thing about this business is that you can't go to a customer and say, I'm a good coach, give me business. The moment you say that, they will say, I'll get back to you. Whereas if I say, Karan is an excellent guy. I'm a coach, but I'm not talking about me. I want to talk about Karan is an excellent guy. If at all you want to do something about this particular sphere on life-changing transformation, on leadership, you need to get a hold of Karan. But I'm not sure how busy he is. If you want, I can set up a call with him. You can speak to him. Let me find out his availability. In the moment you say like this, then people will come to you. So that is the beauty of, being an excellent coach, and the world world perceive it as an excellent coach. For that, what you need to do?
Fantastic. I think we have two questions in the chat box.
I want to add, sorry to interrupt, Karan. For me, I might have said this with some of you here. One thing that I have personally learned from Nassar is, you can't really sell yourself as a coach, but we should sell others. There are two things in it. One is, it is more credible perhaps when we don't sell ourselves, and we see so many social media posts. Sometimes even I wonder, whether my posts are also moving in that direction, some of them. But the second part is more important. He says it's always we should point fingers to some other coaches in the community whom we know and we trust. Actually, that is for me. That is one of my dreams about the community. The more we do that, I'm not looking for a coach. You're first looking at who in the community can benefit from it. Then I look at, can I do that myself? Today, to be very frank, when somebody says they can't afford me, that's when I pass it on and that team look for a coach only in our community. But that is something that we should reverse. And I'm as much guilty of it. But the day we have started practicing what Nassar just said, matter of factly, and he does that. I know that he does refers to others, and I think then our community will be absolutely above the competition. Yeah, back to you, Karan.
And in fact, from that story, serve your way to growth. One message at the end of the story was, and that stayed with me. And it says, "Give more than you take." And coaching, as it has become suddenly and maybe sadly, it has become a very lonely journey as a coachpreneur, right? We are in a community, so I mean, I think we should be very mindful of that, and that thing stayed with me. Are we truly giving more than we are taking from the circuit, from the community circuit? Thanks for that. I think we have two questions Money has raised. How do you strike a balance between reading a lot and retaining maximum? Want to take that, Nassar?
Yeah. See, basically, what I do is many times we read a lot of information, and some of it gets stuck. It's spark. Some trigger point it happened. What I usually do is I make a note of that with a different color pen, and then initially I was not able to afford a person in the office to do all the back end work. But later on, when my company became relatively bigger, I had many people to work. And that's when I kind of highlight all this and give that particular book to the person. And they put it in a Word file and share it with me. So I keep that. That is one way of looking at it. And I constantly refer back to that. And I make it a point. I talk about those examples in the day-to-day conversation, or anybody whom I meet across, or it just comes in. That's one way of looking at it. Another way is that, see, not everybody can remember everything. For example, if you probably would have done something to do with your psychometry, I kind of follow very rigorously one of the tools which is quite famous, the DISC and Thomas profiling. Some of you are familiar with that. So I come from that behavioral pattern where I have relatively high on D and C as well. So I like these data, analytics, numbers, stories, facts, figures. So I make it a point to remember all that, So that's kind of really triggered me. And the initial stages in my life, when I was doing my corporate training, I go and talk to these big guys, all these CEOs, CXOs in front of you. And today, don't go by my look today, because I have few gray hairs and a lot of no hair. So the initial days, it was not like this. A lot of black hair, and you look like, and I'm also not that very tall, 5'4" or something. So when you go and stand in front of an audience, the first impression that the audience connect that you need to do, you need to connect with the audience at the beginning, very first. Otherwise, you lose it. They will not respect you. And especially more so when you have gray hairs in front of you as an audience, it's all the more challenging. So all you need to do is to throw all these numbers. This book said that company did this, the Pepsi strategy turned around like this. So 5-10 minutes, it will be like a bombarding of data and information and statistics. To give you an example, the recent one I did recently is about, the whole GDP of the world. What is the economic size of the world? It's $100 trillion. So out of the $100 trillion, 2,000 CEOs of the world do 50% of the business, which is $50 trillion. Okay. So which is a fact. If you really look at the numbers, is mind-boggling, right? $100 trillion, 50% of the business is done by 2,000 CEOs of the world. Then I introduced this book called CEO Excellent, which is written by McKinsey's team. And the book is all about that, how these 2,000 people are doing it, or what way their leadership is different compared to the other person, and so on and so forth. So the moment you say something like this, then that you won the audience, then they're ready to listen to you. Forget about your personality, forget about your language, or whatever it is. You need to connect with the audience the very first. So this is how I picked up this habit, and it goes well with my behavioral pattern. So many times people will think, okay, you are telling so many facts and figures. I can't even remember one fact, one date, even my own wife's date of birth also, including me. Yeah? That's a different story. I forget my wife's date of birth. When it comes to this, it's fine. But many times I forget my wife's birthday also. Hope that answered your question, Mani.
Sure. The second part of the question is, second question is for someone who wants to write, what is a good way to choose what to write on?
See, one thing which you're passionate about, see, the writing, I'm very happy today. I feel that I've done some great achievement in life. Of the many achievements, writing a book is the biggest thing. So I hold a visa in Qatar, and when I went to Qatar during the COVID, because I need to renew my visa, so it was completely protected. So I was taken from the airport directly to Radisson Blu. I was staying in the hotel in a separate section that the hotel doesn't have a window also. You can't even open. Like a jail, people will come and give the food in the morning, and they take back in the night and things like that. After 3 days of quarantine, I went and did my test because I was about to go out. And they said, okay, where did you vaccinated? I said, from COVID, from India. They did something and they said, no, you can't go out. You have to stay another 7 more days. 10 days inside that one single room, I was actually editing this book, Spark, okay? I thought I will be able to finish the entire editing of this 32 stories because I want to re-edit it and make it a little more, user-friendly, make it very simple, no hi-fi jargons and all that. Can you believe me? How many chapters do you think that I've edited on those 10 days inside the room? Well,
there are around 25 chapters or so, 17 plus something, maybe 15 or something. A chapter a day, probably.
You know what? I finished only one. I mean, if you look at the chapter, it's only 1.5 page, 2 page. The problem is I'm not a person who can sit and do a writing or create some document out of it. I can talk hours together about business and cricket and all that. But writing is not my cup of tea. Okay. But I did it over a period of 1 year to edit this 22 or 27 chapter, whatever it is, right? So the question is, I don't know whether I'll be a competent person to guide you how to write, but I can always tell you, because being a coach, you need to be vulnerable. But something which you're passionate about, you can probably do that. In case if you're not comfortable writing, you use your technology, phones and your voice recorder, and you can dictate it. And later on, there are some softwares even convert it and give it to you in text format also. And then you can go ahead and read it. See, the very first thing that I did is after finishing all this book in order, I gave it to my daughter. She's in the second year engineering, my eldest daughter. And she is the one, who never finishes any book in one single go. She takes almost about 20 days, 30 days to finish even on a fiction book also. So within about 2-3 hours, she came back and said, I finished the book. I said, wow, it's amazing. And she said, it's wonderful. Please go ahead. So that gave me a lot of, because you need to cover the Gen Y, all these millennials. And if they say it's good, it is good. It has to be good only. There is no other benchmark. Because they don't like long stories, no? If you start like, during my days, I start, no, stop, tell me what you want. So that's how they speak. So if you can communicate that like that, it makes a lot of sense. So something you're passionate about, something, see, what I always wanted to say is something that you, see, today's scenario, everybody knows about everything. You have WhatsApp, you have YouTube, whatnot. Every single day, somebody or the other keeps sharing something or the other. So what becomes a news in NDTV today, tomorrow it becomes a post. So people know about everything. what can you say? You can't say about anything. You can't talk about Indrani, you can't talk about Bill Gates, you can't talk about Steve Jobs. Everybody knows about the story. How can you relate that story for yourself? Nobody can compare that, like your experience. You come across something, you have seen somebody, some coaching has actually changed lives. So which is something which is totally you, and nobody can share your story on a WhatsApp or whatever, right? It becomes original. So think about those kind of things which will really inspire.
Great. Hope, Mani, you got the answers. I think Anuj had raised his hand. Anuj, you want to go?
Anuj, I think you're more
Anuj,
muted.
we are not able to hear you. Okay. As he fixes the audio issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Please continue.
No, it was not a question. I just wanted to tell Nassar that I keep going through all his posts on LinkedIn, and one of the most interesting post writers I found him. So I don't miss a single word, not even a punctuation mark. So I just wanted to mention it.
Thank you so much. I take professional help for this, okay? I give what to be posted, but I don't post it on. It is actually done by my team. That's again a secret, but I know what is getting posted. So I don't do it technically because I'm not that good in computers.
So Nassar, while reading, I realized, you also had mentioned about your first sales experience. And we have a good team here. So I was mentioning to Sonia as well, you should read this one chapter. And in that, you mentioned how it was kind of frustrating for you not getting success. And your mentor says, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Now, the question to you, and this is very often heard from us, to us, and we have heard it often. I believe entrepreneurship is for those who have been into sales roles. Would you agree, disagree? What is your advice to
See,
non-sales people?
one of the things, like, first of all, this coaching itself is an experience. I don't know whether to say that to you because I came to know about coaching and I thought my understanding of coaching was totally different, actually. I thought I can coach some business guys, CEOs, because many of the companies, I work with a lot of family managed business companies. That's where I spend most of my time. I'm very passionate about it. In fact, I'm also doing a long duration course in family managed business from IIM Calcutta. So the thing is, so many of the clients that I coach, the problem is with the founder, the old man, the second generation, third generation, so much of challenges. Then I realized, okay, how to speak to this guy so that he can listen to. Then I came to know about coaching and all of that. Then I went to, I was running around here and there, and Subash said, this is how it is. I had so much of expectation. I was really excited. I paid up, and those days it was no online. No, I had to go to Chennai. I flew to Chennai, stayed in the hotel. Next day morning, I was looking forward to the session. After 1.5 hours of the first part of the session, I felt, oh my God, I made a biggest, worst decision, or one of the stupid decision ever I made in my life. Because Subash is telling that in coaching, you will not tell anything to anybody. You will only ask question. I said, oh my God, I thought I'll get some guidance to handle these fellows. But now you're going and saying you will only ask question. That is what these people are asking me every single day. How can I answer that? So that's where I realized. But after 3-4 hours, then I realized, okay, this is also another way of looking at it. And that's how I became coach. So the point is, in terms of, sales being one of the things is very important because, again, Subash had invited me to attend this ICF national convention. It happened in Bangalore a few years back. Then I looked at, everybody is talking about how can coach market themselves, how to market, everything. Then I looked at it the other side. Most of the people, 95% of the people in the coaching business are from HR background. HR people, by nature, they are not salespeople, right? So sales is something. Today, you walk into any MBA school and ask if you're running a campus interview, ask how many people are interested in sales. Nobody will be interested in sales. Even the men folk, they wanted to be HR. They don't want to dirty their hands. They don't want to fold their sleeves. So sales is not something which can happen. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest things that happened to anybody is sales. But the mindset is that everybody is a salesperson. You and I, everybody is a salesperson. There is an interesting book called To Sell is Human from Daniel Pink. I think you should read that book. It's like, you're asking a cup of coffee from your wife. and the wife is coming and giving you, that's a sale. You can learn a lot of negotiation lessons from kids, right? They'll be stubborn. They know how to, you will say that in my entire life, I'm not gonna get you chocolates to you. And the kid inside, they'll be laughing and saying, I know how to get chocolate from you, right? So they are masters in negotiation. They are masters in never say die kind of attitude. So it's every one of us have got the sales in us. But the question is, we kind of compromise, and we kind of, I mean, it's a ceiling that we put and say that we are not good in sales. The moment you say we are not good in sales, all of us know we are coaches. What is the message that you are giving subconsciously? You're saying you're not good. So when your mind says that you're not good, how can you become good? No. So the question is, I mean, that's one of the problem, I think, as a community, as an ICF or any coaching community, for example. And on the contrary, if you see people are really good in sales, they make a lot of money in coaching or training or whatever, because they know exactly what to do. They know exactly what not to do. That's about it.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. As I wait for more questions and comments, I
There
think
is one question from Meena. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't find unmute. I just wanted to know, it was World Earth Day a couple of days ago, and I wondered if you had any advice on how to spark social consciousness, especially now that we're thinking about starting a business and other things like that.
See, one of the things that, in my humble opinion, I always believe that the more you give, the more you get. So, and many a times the problem is, you give somebody and you expect that particular person to help you back or give you back, which is actually not help, it's trade. I help you, help me. That means it's business, right? So when you're trying to help somebody, it is a help that you don't expect anything from them. It's unconditional. So this is a part of the culture that we need to build in, right? From the younger generations, or what are you talking about? Anything to do with social consciousness, it's part of the culture, like how you've been brought up, what kind of environment that you are in. And I think that today's generations, they are very good at it. There's an organization called MAD. I'm sure you must be knowing about it. People go crazy about that organization. I've seen full-time volunteers doing that. They don't work anymore. They just dedicate themselves full about this particular organization. So I believe as a community, I think the new generations are picking up a lot of things, and this MAD is about making difference in people's life. So I think somewhere, I mean, we need to do a bit in terms of what we are doing, but I think the ecosystem has to support them, So the same person, if they go out to Singapore, Malaysia, or anywhere in Europe, they behave totally differently. They are very conscious about not using the plastics, and they are so concerned about, on the beach side. But we take things for granted, and right, I mean, that we are part of the system. For example, if I want something to get done, I always would expect people to get it done at the fastest possible way, and I don't mind about paying here and there. That we are also part of the system. I believe. It's I mean, I'm too infant to talk about it, but that's how the whole world works around. Maybe we can start from ourselves. I'm sure you must be knowing that the starfish on the beach side, one person was trying to throw one starfish. Somebody asked him, I mean, at least I can say whatever is there in my hand. So we will do our bit and see how things happen over a period of time, inshallah.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I'll just take 2 minutes. I think in the last Coaching Unlimited at Bangalore, Mani was there, Nassar was there, PK is here. We were discussing about entrepreneurship, all of that. And then we were discussing about, this spark has to be there. So I use that word spark there, and PK very passionately corrected me. He said, it cannot be a spark. If you're an entrepreneur, it can start with a spark, but it cannot stay as a spark. It has to be a blazing fire. That stayed with me. And as an entrepreneur, probably it can start with a spark, but it has to turn to a blazing fire. My question to you, Nassar, is what could dampen this spark? Yeah, the book has a lot of success stories. What do you think could dampen this spark from, spark to a blazing fire? What could dampen
See,
it?
one of the things that I always wanted to tell is that success is not going to be easy. Okay. Any kind of success, whether it is sports or acting, whatever, you see all that amazing stories of people who've done it and made it big. So the problem is one of the things that in the initial part, many of those the multi-level marketing company, network marketing company, I was not part of any of that. But if you kind of go to any of those meetings, in introductory meeting, they'll start showing you all those fancy cars, lovely houses, beach, holiday, vacations and all of that. And they'll start telling you do this. All you need to do is you don't have to do this much, that much. How many of you been to any of those introductory meeting for MLM and all of that? Can I at least raise some hands if you can, probably? Yeah. So, they give you so much of expectation at the beginning. It's like all. Is there any bad trailer in the world? Movie trailer? All the movie trailers are good, right? Only the movies are becoming bad. So, like that, the expectation is so high. And when it comes to this thing, when you pick up those membership and start getting into the network marketing field, then that's when you feel very bad. So it's all about expectations. So the moment you know that entrepreneurial journey is not going to be easy, it's going to be tough. Every single day you're going to get rejections, and rejection is a very positive sign. The selling starts when the customer says no. That's a very interesting book, by the way, same name. So if you really go by this kind of a mindset, so your expectation is not I'm going to see, for example, many a times we have this feeling like you look at a dream appointment. For example, if I can meet Subash and he's the CEO of so and so company, I'm going to sign a contract with him for the rest of my life. So if you have somebody like that, a dream kind of a meeting that you're looking at, and you've been following with Subash, your secretary, by everything, what kind of a car Subash drives, what kind of perfume that he likes to put on, what kind of books he like to read, which are the flights that he fly in. Many times I also go in the same flight right next to him, sitting in a business class and things like that. But one fine day gives you an appointment. As a salesperson, all of us will be so happy to meet him, right? Because you've been working on this for last 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. With this excitement you go, you miss out the crux of the matter. What is the crux of the matter? Is that I'm actually going to meet Subash, and Subash's mind is all about only one thing. Okay, I want to meet Nassar tomorrow and say no to him. That's it. But I am so expecting so much of curious in my mind, I thought I already started dreaming about the contract and everything, because I'm actually not prepared for this answer no. This is a mistake most of the sales guys do. So we have to have that expectation in the right front. Everything is possible. I'm not saying that's not possible, but it'll take some time. So you need to have that, in the sports fraternity, they say, any hit that you want to master, you need to play 10,000 times. If you want to play a front foot stroke or any of those things. So that's why they send these kids at the very early age. So a day, like it takes about 10 to 12, 13 years. Malcolm Gladwell also talks about it in the book, Outliers, So this is 10,000 hours of practice. So it will take some time. So my humble suggestion for all of you is the business is going to be definitely going to come. You need to be patient. You need to wait. You need to have patience. And then you need to set your expectation right. So when your expectation is so high, on the day one, it may not happen. So you'll get disappointed and you tend to start looking at some other options. And there again, you're going to start from scratch only.
In the interest of time, assuming that some of you have not finished your dinner, thanks very much, Nassar. I'm sharing the link for the book once again. Buy it, distribute it within your community, recommend it. Also, if you choose to buy, add a comment to the Amazon thing so that it can get more popular. We want to proactively support our community members. We also want to learn, right? And all learning happens from sharing. Thanks once again for sharing all that wisdom, Nassar. Some of the book titles, as always. Yeah, we hope to see you coming with your masterpiece. I'm more curious about your first book now.
First book, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Inshallah.
Thank
Okay.
you. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Everyone. And thanks, everyone.
Looking forward to connecting with all of you. Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.